Okay, one of my favorite artists. This guy is a legend. We say legend far too much, but this is the one and only Eddy Grant. Eddy Grant, I want to talk diversity. I want to talk Top of the Pops. I want to talk about that awful car accident. I want to talk about the heart attack, but I want lots of highs as well. And I want lots of love from music. Can you deliver on Stars, Cars, Guitars, the Eddy Grant interview?
Yes. The stars, cars, bars, and all others. Yes.
Stars, cars, guitars.
The Equals music is fresh. It's amazing. Whenever I hear it on the radio, I think, Jesus, fresh. That's the only way I can describe. And it's because I spend an inordinate amount of time getting it right. And so when I listen to that coming back at me from what I did when I was 17 or 18, it's like I want to go and cover them all over again. Burning within the Equals like a furnace was this ability for me to write songs that related to white people and black people at the same time. I suppose that mixture of cultures, having come from a calypso culture and then having heard all the pop music from America and England, it was a very Catholic experience I've had. Then I came and met with the guys from Africa and Jamaica. And so it was really a milieu.
Eddy, at such an early age, you young guys in that band were really blazing a trail for diversity.
I suppose it's one of those things that can happen in the worst of times, because those times were pretty shaky. And the big man from upstairs must have said, hey, it's about time we cool the heat with a rock steady beat. You know what I'm saying? And the right people came from the right places, and it happened. If you had to be really pernickety about it, it really was the first successful mixed race band in the world. I mean, there was Booker T and the MGs, but there was no the MGs. You know what I'm saying? Like there was the Equals. And so the Equals can quite rightly claim that they were the first of them all. I mean, Sly and the Family Stone, again, they came later, and still it was Sly and the Family Stone. But there was only one of the Equals, like the Beatles.
The Equals, we said earlier, a racially integrated band.
Sure.
Yeah, but also you were very brave with your songwriting. I mean, some of the American labels were quite socially aware, but you took that one step further, writing Police on Our Backs and Black Skin, Blue Eyed Boys. That was pretty brave, wasn't it?
Black Skin, Blue Eyed Boys was really an anomaly. The record company I was with, President Records, the boss didn't like the song because it talked about black. And as far as he's concerned, you know, that really wasn't the thing for the jolly Equals to be doing. I mean, it happened many times in our relationship. It was like a father and son, but he was white and I was black. And he had a lot of children. He never had one like me. And I spoke back to him and we argued and had unbelievable arguments based upon music. When the music was right, everybody was happy. And all of a sudden, I think in the middle of 1969, the Equals started to go down a bit. And I thought, well, this can't happen. You know, we had Viva Bobby Joe, we'd had Michael and Slipper Tree and those kind of songs. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write the song for the time. And the song for the time was who we were. We were black skin, blue-eyed boys. We were our mother's blue-eyed boys, and we was black as hell. And the other boys got it by when you cross-pollinate. They got that. I mean, John dance like a black man. I mean, John was just incredible. I mean, he probably could dance better than some of the band. And Pat just absorbed me. And today, I'm proud to say, he has become more like me than he was when he came into the band. I can say it this way. I never had to copy any of the Americans when it came to social awareness, because they were not, especially the black ones. There was yes, sir, no, sir. You know, even the ones that you see today, and some of them are friends, were still singing Baby, I Love You, Baby, I Love You, because they wanted to get over. You know, you got to get over, baby, you know what I'm saying? Anything to get over. I never felt a need to get over. I always felt a need to say it like it is. And saying it like it is in the 60s, when you're black, it just was not the thing to do. So I wrote Give Love a Try before John Lennon wrote Give Peace a Chance. Matter of fact, I think, John, if you're listening, you know, but people don't know that. Only the guys maybe who followed Prince Buster, because he covered the song as well, you know, would know about that. Those things, I was writing those things from early on. Police on My Back was on the second Equals album, you know. So it's not as though I was sitting there following somebody, or Bob Dylan, or any one of these people. It's that this was my reality.
And how did it go down because I've read that your manager did not want to let you guys tour America because he didn't think that you guys would either be safe or go down very well with some audiences. But how was it in Britain and Europe? Was there anybody looking down their nose at a mixed race band all on stage at the same time?
Not in the audience, they weren't. We had the most fantastic set of young people that came to see us. And it really was a fantastic time, because you're breaking new ground and you don't know it. For some reason, these 5 guys, looking as they were accepted in all our idiosyncrasies and whatever it is that we were doing. And we were doing a lot of crazy things. I mean, if you can imagine, in the 60s, you had a couple of black boys running around in Aston Martins, and only Prince Charles was doing that. And even he may have had a small one, you know? But it was a total conflict with what was expected at the time. It was really enormously successful.
When you wrote Baby Come Back, which amazingly enough was a B-side, got flipped by the DJs, didn't it? Did the success take you by surprise when you were number one, when you were top of the pops?
To be honest, no. I loved Baby Come Back from the very first day I wrote. You know, I wrote the song walking from Selma's in Charing Cross Road to my home in Anson Road off the Brecknock Road. And it's a long walk, but I used to do that. I used to run from the West End to North London. And as I'm coming along the pathway down from Brecknock Road to my home at number 17 Anson Road, I'm skipping, because it's slightly downhill, and I'm skipping from stone to stone. And I'm going ding, 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 ding. If I have to go fast, I go fast. And it just turned out that's what it was. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. And it just went on and on and on, that rapid repeat. And by the time I got home, it was so drilled into my consciousness and unconsciousness that I thought, must be a song here. And so I went and sat with my guitar, as I would normally do. I was expecting Lincoln to come around because I showed him guitar, you know. And I saw, while I'm waiting, I'm ding, 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 ding. And I thought, gee, this is pretty good, but I mean, I got to do something else. And so the song, as Macca would say, it's the song Evolve. The song came out of the thin air into my consciousness, and I could hear Baby Come Back from top to bottom. It did not take long. By the time I'd finished, I was on to the second song, which was Hold Me Closer. Lincoln had turned up at my door. Knocked, I got to stop, go and open for him. Hey, come in, Lynx. Just let me finish this song. And I finished Hold Me Closer. You know, I mean, it's amazing what youth can do. And when I finished it, I thought, wow, now this is it's a little bit like Baby Come Back, but so what? And I asked Lincoln, after having asked a number of friends who were in the yard playing marbles with my brothers, would they like a piece of one of my songs, and being totally berated and, God, get off with you on that stupid song, dang, 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 dang. Okay, boys. And so I went inside. This is my bedroom. The bedroom opened out into the yard, and Lynx is sitting there trying to barry. That was the lesson for the day. And I said, Slim, you want a piece of my song? You want, when's your birthday? And he said, birthday is sometime in January. I says, right. When Mr. Kasner asks, I'll tell him that you wrote half the song. That's all right? Yeah, thanks very much, mate. And off he went. And so then we started to practice. And of course, when the time came, I told Mr. Kasner, you write it down. And the song was written by me and Lynx. And I've never borne any ill will to him. Matter of fact, I gave him many more. And
wow.
It was good to be my friend, because I didn't see any value in songs. I didn't see any value in music. The money never meant anything. Anybody who knows me would tell you, it never meant diddly squat. My royalties would come in, I just hand it to my wife, or before that, I hand it to my mother. And it was never about, until today.
Let me ask you this, Eddie. Paul McCartney, 1968, he writes Obla Dee, Obla Da. Are you thinking, hang on a minute, that's a bit Equals? That is a bit like the Equals.
Yes, it is. Come on, Paul. You know. He had to have gotten that from somebody West Indian. Not to knock Paul McCartney, because Paul is an excellent songwriter, one of the best the world has seen. And I mean that from my heart. Paul knows me very well, and he knows that I wouldn't lie on him or whatever it is. But the cross-pollinization of cultures, anytime you crossed, you became the Equals. It's just, the time is just what was happening. So the moment, I could do the Beatles, but the Beatles couldn't do me. And so, that's how it is. So in order for the Beatles to do me, they really had to come and sound like me.
You're doing really well with the Equals. You've mentioned other hits like Viva Bobby Joe. You're playing all over Europe. Your manager isn't keen on you playing America. Do you feel that held you back? Because I've got a feeling the Americans would have loved the Equals.
Oh, the Americans did love the Equals. Baby Come Back could easily have been a #1 record in the States. But we were on a small label, and in those days, I think very much like these days too, it was parochial. You had parochial hits. You got a hit in Kansas, yes, is getting us hit in England or something like that. So we were getting hits in spots, never aggregating the numbers, so to speak. So in the Billboard or Cashbox chart, it would be based on what you've done that week in that state. And so on it went. I witnessed it when it was time for me in my solo career. I witnessed how it works. And it's very difficult if you're in a small label to get that big hit.
Tell me, Eddie, about the car crash, because if anything halted the Equals career, it was the car crash in Germany. Were you coming back from a gig? How bad was the crash?
Bad for me. You know, we were fantastically successful in Europe. We had just had Viva Bobby Joe, and it was massive. There's an organization that gives out an award called the Golden Lion. And we're coming back from, I think it was in Aachen that the event was held. So on the border with Holland, I think somewhere. We had a very good road manager, a guy by the name of Mick Parrish. Mick was, playing the idiot. He had a cap, and we're sitting in this Bentley, and S2, I think it was, and he's driving along. We're going at about 125, and on the German roads, that's like walking. So you got these Mercedes going phew, phew, past you, but we're doing 125. And suddenly, out of nowhere, this massive deluge of rain came down with a wind out of this world. And we went under this bridge where obviously water had been gathering. And this car aquaplaned, this big, the Bentleys, the old Bentleys, aquaplaned and turned like over. And at the things that it did, I'm amazed. I saw God. I mean, as I'm going through the windscreen, I'm flying like Superman, and I flew for a long way, and it whipped me over the seats, and the seats in the Bentley quite high. I went over that, past Mick Parrish, hi Mick, and up this hill that, at the sides of the motorway, you have these inclines. Up that, I was going that fast because the car whipped and gave me an extra momentum and threw me onto this barbed wire fence and cut me as some bollock to arsehole, as they would say. It really cut me seriously, and my left leg twisted out of like a dolly, all out of shape. And I really thought I was going to lose that leg. I'd never seen so much claret. It just was running out of me and down this hill and onto the road. The car was on its top like that. And I saw the guys fall out. And I think I'm shouting, guys, I'm up here. I'm up here. And of course, they're just walking around in a dream, slow-mo. And Pat fell out and cracked a rib, I think it. But that was the worst they got. But I was put away in hospital for a while, and then eventually I came home, and that's when I realized how great a wife I had married, because she was now, 17, 18, and I was a couple of years older, and she had to manage me like a baby. I mean, there's nothing, I couldn't walk to the bathroom. Everywhere I went, she took me on her shoulder and her back. And would you tell me which 18-year-old girl is going to put up with that? I was like an old man. And I just willed myself to be able to play the next tour, because the next tour was coming up in November. And it's only a couple of months, and I could hardly walk. I'd lost a piece of my scrotum. It was really quite serious. What happened was eventually the guys came around and says, Ed, what you going to do? I said, I'm going to tour. And so we did tour, and we had to play Munster, which is where the crash took place, and all the doctors and nurses came. They couldn't believe it, that I'd healed so fast. It hurt, but did it hurt?
Wow. And then after that, you suffer a heart attack and a collapsed lung.
Yes.
And you're a young man, and you must be thinking, what the hell is going on now? There I was, number one. There I was, top of the pops. Now look at my luck.
Well, they say in life, it's important to be able to accept whatever it is that happens to you is pre-planned. I believe that. So I have no real fear about anything. Now you're talking about 2 years forward. 1st of January, 1971. Just had Black Skin, Blue Eyed Boys, which was out on about the 17th of November. The stress of putting that together, because what a lot of people don't understand is the degree to which I was responsible. And this is not a boast, this is a fact. I was one of the youngest in the band, and I was responsible for every aspect of the Equals life. Day to day, night to night. I argued with management. I was the management, because the management did not know what the hell to do. And that stress, knowing that the Equals were going down from 1969, 1970, they were going down. Everybody was wanting to write them off. Obviously, as you're going down, you're earning less, and you got feelings going on where there shouldn't be feelings, not inside the group, but extra-territorial. And I recognized that some distress was on. Fortunately, we ran from every pillar to post to promote the song. A great song still needs promotion. And when it happened, I was a dead man. I literally, it was only a question of time. I had done too much. And so on the first day, New Year's Day, 1971, out.
Wow. Now, you had a big health scare when you were a very small boy, yeah?
I had suffered as a child a real serious illness, which is called diphtheria, in which 1 out of every 2 children died. God kept me alive, and he took the other little boy. And I've never been able to forget it, because my father always told me about that little boy. And he told me about the pain that he felt when he came in to the room where they had these 2 tents, oxygen tents. And this particular day, when he came up the steps and he came into the ward, and he only saw 1 tent, and he started to cry, because he thought that I had gone. I used to be right there in front of him. They'd moved me along, and the boy had gone. I had never forgotten it. I said, God kept me alive for a reason. And so my whole thinking was to go to England, where there's going to be this opportunity for me to learn medicine and come back. I was not interested in being in England. But again, God, whoever controls this big, nasty, dirty place that we've got called Earth, had different plans.
Eddy, when you arrived in the UK, I think you're about 12 years old, and your parents are already over here, and they're saving, and they send for you. So you arrive in Britain, probably on a wet, rainy, cold day. The Beatles were 2 or 3 years away, or a couple of years away. But I suppose, in a way, that was fabulous for you, because talk about being in the right place at the right time, even though the weather was lousy.
Lousy weather, till now. Lousy. Get your weather straight, mate. It wasn't that bad. For a youngster who has just come from the Caribbean, where it's basically always hot. It's a culture shock. There's many things that were culture shocks. And you say about the Beatles had to happen because England was 100 years behind. England was really, I mean, okay, let's say 50 years behind America. It had no air conditioning. It had no central heating. It had post-war syndrome. Because there was a time England was only into Americana. It's as though they wanted those bright colors because England had no bright colors. I always say to people, if you know England like I know England, England used to be dressed in brown and cream. The houses were painted brown and cream inside and had lurid wallpaper that you couldn't imagine, like was like a sponge. And terrible heating, you know, paraffin, boom, 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 SO. You know what I'm saying? It had that kind of old, dirgy feeling about it. You walked out of the street, it stank of coke or coal. England was a hotbed of all kinds of strange carryings-ons, and all of that was filtering through to the youth, and the youth was saying, "Oh man, no, let's copy the Americans, but let's make it our own." That's what the Beatles are. The Beatles are a copy of all that was coming out of America, with the peculiar nature of English sense of humor.
Hey, absolutely. And John, Paul, George and Ringo were so clever to be able to sell that music back to the Americans. But before the Beatles, who were your early British heroes?
I was not interested in pop music at all. I was very interested in traditional jazz. All my heroes, Louis Armstrong, come across to England, Kenny Ball, what's his name, Humphrey Littleton, Ken Collier, you know, all of these guys, Acker Bilk, they became, because they were touchable. Satchmo was in the States. I could only hear his fantastic playing. Miles Davis, they were all my heroes. The British ones, no less than the American ones, because I could I could see Kenny Ball on Sunday night at the London Palladium. I could see Acker Bilk, see Humphrey Littleton. I could go down to the pub in Kentish Town, on Kentish Town Road, and see anybody who was anybody. Pop music infused itself into me because I heard the Shadows. I were not interested so much in Cliff because Cliff was there for the girls and, you know, the pretty boy. But I could listen and I could hear the guitars, Hank Marvin and Bruce Welch and so on, so Jet Harris and so on. So I would listen to what's going on. So I had a friend named Gus. He will never disappear out of my life because he said to me one day, "Why don't you write songs? Grant, why don't you write songs?" And I said, "For what?" And he said, "Well, I mean, there's this guy called Bob Dylan." I'd never heard that name before. He said, "There's this guy called Bob Dylan, and he can't be more intelligent than you, and he cannot be more up on English than you, and everybody's talking about them. Grant, write songs, man." And so I started thinking about it.
Eddie, before I did this interview, I saw a brilliant bit of video on YouTube. I think it was a French TV show. And you either had the bleach blonde hair or that famous blonde wig of yours. And you were really, really working those guitar moves. You were like a cross between, Jimi Hendrix and Ernie Isley. It was amazing absolutely amazing to see, a real showman.
I met Chuck Berry. I saw Chuck Berry. And really that set my guitar playing for life. I just wanted to be a showman. I had seen T-Bone Walker. I had seen Buddy Guy. And I saw these guys playing guitars and put it behind their neck and between their legs. And I said, yeah, I'll start to do that. And I went over the top until it was really, until it became what it became.
Okay, why did you not go, because you say you wanted to be a showman, why did you not do the lead vocals in the Equals? I mean, you had Derv Gordon, who was brilliant.
Tell me about it.
Oh, and you guys were so energetic. I mean, I was too young to see the Equals. They were always a band that I wanted to see. I urge people to go to YouTube and watch some footage of you guys. So much power, raw power, energy, so much love for being on stage. I bet you guys killed them when you played live. But did you think Derv's the man, or was it because you weren't so sure about being front stage?
Listen, I was doing so many things at that age. The last thing I needed to do was something that I couldn't do as well as somebody else. Derv was a fantastic singer. He was a little older than the rest of us. I thought, I've got a great singer. Why should I be hustling to hustle him? His brother, Lincoln, was also a great singer, a bit like Solomon Burke, you know what I'm saying? But Derv personified how I heard my voice. You know, my voice is gruff, and I always thought, no, I can't sing. I shouldn't really be singing. It's too gruff. But gruff is what I wanted when I started to write.
Do you think, because Eddie, you had kind of the Trojan reggae explosion after Blue Beat with the Windrush generation coming in, and they were embraced by white skinheads. They love that music. Do you think that helped forge an audience for acts like the Equals?
No, we were before all of that. The Equals were playing the clubs since 1964. There were no skinheads around at that time. There were hardly any heads around at that time. I mean, it was the beginning of it was the time of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Hollies, the Equals, the Bee Gees came a little later. It was a very compact set of people playing the dance halls, the top ranks, the clubs. The Equals had one distinct advantage, and that was that they could play what would be called the ghetto clubs. We could play the Roaring Twenties. We could play the Q Club. We started playing at the All Star. These are all the legendary black nightclubs. I mean, white people went there too, which is amazing. I had lots of white girls in there dancing with black men. Things that people outside had no real idea that was going on. And you had the occasional white star who would, he'd be ghettoing and he'd come down and have a look and see what's happening. And if Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay happened to be in town, he would visit. You had all of this intermingling at a very basic level.
Now, Eddie, you came to Britain in 1960. By the early 70s, you leave Britain. An amazing time in the United Kingdom for you, which gave you fame and fortune and set you up for life. Leaving Britain, was it painful to go back, or was it just time and easy?
There was a bit of a tug, but the cold was a final determinant. Ed, I was going to live at first in Ibiza, having gone to Ibiza to play a gig, the Ibiza Bullring, and I was staying at this house that belonged to Terry Thomas, he of the Teeth, and I loved it. I loved Terry's house, and I loved the environment, and my wife seemed to like it, and my musicians seemed to like it. And Ibiza Sound was up for sale, and I thought, well, I could buy that, and I'd buy Terry's house. Terry was suffering from Parkinson's, and I could live here, 2 hours away from anywhere in Europe. I could live there. But then, on the night of the gig, they arrested me because I wouldn't go on stage until they paid the money. And the promoters ran away with the money. So I didn't go on stage, and the police come and grabbed me, boom, threw me in the van, off to the jail. And so I spent a couple of days in jail. I had to find somewhere else, you know. So I ended up in Barbados, which is where I had a fantastic time coming from Guyana to England. I remembered that people are nice, and I spoke to my president of my country, and Guyana was going through a very rough time at the hands of Britain and at the hands of America, you know. But he's a man of vision, and he understood my problem. He says, yeah, you can spend your time in Barbados until we get ourselves sorted out in Guyana. And then you'll come, I mean, you can still come and do some little things here, you know. Yes, okay, fine. And so it was arranged, and here I am.
Eddy, the Equals were an amazing part of your life. Hit singles, hit albums, touring the world. You bonded with friends in that group and lived very, very closely. And you went through some real highs and lows, including your health issues that we've talked about, and of course that awful car accident. Looking back now on the Equals, the members in the group and the music and the legacy, what do you feel?
Pride. I did what I did with all the life force in me. And so, I can hear it. The energy that I've put into what makes the Equals tick, the songs. It is what it is. It captured a time, it captured a fervor, it captured the love of the time. Because in that time, there was love. People don't understand that, you know, after the war, the amount of appreciation that people had for people, because they could have lost. It's like walking across the road and a car just narrowly missing you. You suddenly realize, Jesus, this life is precious. It's you go and buy somebody a cup of coffee for nothing, you know, because you suddenly realize what life means. And that's really what the Equals embodied at that time. Today, it's another time. It's not so much love. There's a lot of music, but it's devoid of heart.
Tell us about your website. If people want to find your new music, your current music, there's so much Eddy Grant stuff out there. Let's give the website a plug.
You can find every Eddy Grant record on eddygrant.com. Makes sense. It's me, you know, guys who you love. You buy millions of records when I'm coming through EMI or Sony or one of these. Now I need you. Come to eddygrant.com and you'll find all that you have been saying that you can't find. It's as simple as that. eddygrant.com, okay?
When we come back with you, I want to talk about Living on the Front Line, I Don't Want to Dance, all the hits, Electric Avenue, and Feel the Rhythm of You and I, that beautiful album you did with the Pioneers. I love that album, Eddy Grant. I want to talk about Walking on Sunshine. I want to talk about Give Me Hope, Joanna, all the big stuff.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Eddy.
My pleasure.
Stars, Cars, Guitars was produced by Tom Stroud.